What are the infective syndromes of central nervous system? Can you name? Okay. What? And polio. Polio is what? How do you classify it? Okay, polio is a virus. What does it cause? What is myelitis? Spinal cord. Okay. Anything else you can tell rather than other than meningitis, other than encephalitis, encephalopathy, myelitis? Can you tell anything else? Okay. Neurosyphilis. Okay. What is Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease? What are prions? They are viral in nature, right? They are not developed properly, but they can still cause infection. The incubation period is very long. Okay. How do we acquire them? So, as the name suggests, you can have it after eating uncooked or raw food, cattle. Okay. The source could be animal. What is your diagnosis? एक बताओ कोई भी. Why acute and why pyogenic? Okay, first of all, why acute? What is the time given? For 2 days. And why pyogenic? Okay. What are the meningeal signs given here? What else? Can you name any etiological agents? And? Okay. 22 years old college student. So, what's the most common cause of meningitis in children? Age-wise, batao. And listeria. Listeria could be more than 65 also. Then, adolescents and youngs. Streptococcus pneumoniae, Neisseria. Okay. Let's see the answers. Does it match to what you told me? Do you agree? Why meningococcal meningitis? One additional information is given here. What is this? Which meningitis does this show? So whenever you see something like this is given in the question, it's hinting towards meningococcal meningitis. Okay. So what is the diagnosis? You can also say acute pyogenic meningitis or bacterial meningitis. In this case, meningococcal meningitis. Then, what is it? Gram negative diplococci. How is the arrangement? Gonococci is kidney shaped. This is lens shaped. This also appears in pairs. Is it intracellular, extracellular? Both. It has both the characteristic. It can be intracellular, it can be extracellular. What is the route of transmission? Inhalation of droplets from the person who is carrying it. Okay. Pathogenesis colonizes the nasopharynx, invades the bloodstream, causes septicemia, crosses blood-brain barrier. You have to know the virulence factors, and all these characteristics are also important. Like in this question, it is given that it has petechial rash or coagulation. That also you will be given in the question. What are the clinical features in meningitis? Can any of you tell what are Koenig sign and what is Brusdinski sign? करके दिखा रही हो, बताओ क्या क्या होता है? What is Koenig sign? When you flex the hip, your knees also get flexed. Is that a Koenig sign? Brusdinski sign mein, when you are flexing your, then what happens? Involuntary, your lower limbs also are flexed. Okay, what else? What is one more thing? Neck stiffness and nuchal rigidity is also the sign of meningitis. Okay. What will you take with sample and how will you collect it? Lumbar puncture, through lumbar puncture, you will take CSF sample. Okay. Now, if you're taking CSF sample, how many portions will you collect? You will collect 3 portions. How will you distribute them to the lab? Biochemistry. Okay. So, if you have to store the CSF sample, how will you store it? You should never refrigerate a CSF sample because these organisms might get killed. Okay. So, you will keep the CSF sample always at the room temperature. If you have to store it, you can also put it in the incubator if you want to later inoculate this sample on the culture plates. Okay. What will you do with this CSF sample? In laboratory, in microbiology laboratory, how will you perform? You will do wet mount. Will you observe any pus cells are there? In case if you are suspecting for fungal infection, what will you do? That will cover in the fungus case. Now you tell me on what will you inoculate this subsample? Blood agar and chocolate agar. Okay. After this, do you remember how all the organisms they present themselves on the agar? What do you observe in the gram stain? What are the biochemical reactions? This will not change. This will remain the same. So if you are suspecting Streptococcus pneumoniae, what will you be able to see on blood agar? And gram reaction में क्या दिखेगा? Gram positive Diplococcus. Okay, and okay, very good. Rotzman Karam colonies. And what is the biochemical reaction? Catalase positive. Catalase will be negative. Oxidase will be negative. If it is Streptococcus agalacti, which test will be positive? CAMP test. Have you heard about CAMP test? Christie, Atkins, Munch, Peterson test. What does it do? This is CAMP test. Can you see? What is this streak line? Which organism is this? This is Staphylococcus aureus, then you put Streptococcus agalacti. So you can see at the point of intersection, they are showing enhancement of hemolysis. So this is positive CAMP test, which is seen in Streptococcus agalacti. We were discussing Streptococcus pneumoniae. What are the biochemical identification required? It will show that it's bile soluble, it ferments inulin and is sensitive to optocine, right? What about Neisseria meningitidis? What does it ferment? Glucose and maltose both. Streptococcus, Neisseria gonorrhoeae ferments what? Glucose. Okay. Haemophilus influenzae, some factors are required and you can see the growth surrounding these required. So this is, what is this media? When you are, it becomes enriched medium when you provide with certain growth factors to it. Okay. About gram-negative bacilli, you know very well. What will you use for Escherichia coli and Klebsiella? Meconic agar, blood agar. What is the biochemical reactions you will use? Indole. Okay, so at least positive, good. Which is indole positive? Is Klebsiella indole positive? Which Klebsiella is indole positive? There is one exception in Klebsiella which is indole positive. Indole and methylred positive is E. coli. Urazen citrate positive is Klebsiella. There is one Klebsiella which is indole positive, which is exception, that is Klebsiella oxytoca. Okay. What about Listeria monocytogenes? One typical feature of Listeria, differential motility. It shows different type of motility at different temperatures. Okay. And we have the special selective agar for Listeria, which includes antibiotics to inhibit the growth of other microorganisms. Okay. And it withstands the antibiotics in this agar and it grows in this agar. Okay. Now, okay, what are other things that you can do other than CSF culture? What happened? What's your name? Joita, what happened? Okay. There's something called as multiplex PCR or biofire film array. What is it? It's a this biofire film array is also a PCR. Why is it multiplex? Because you can test together many organisms, including viruses, bacteria, parasites sometimes, because we are providing them with the control DNA. So it compares with the two and you will get the causative organism whichever is there in the specimen. But of course, it's a very expensive business. What else can you do? You can go for latex agglutination tests, which are available. For Cryptococcus, it's available. Okay, it might be available for any bacterial causative agents also. It's also commercial. You have to buy these kits and perform the test. Okay, what is the treatment? What kind of treatment you have to provide? You have to provide with the drugs that can cause blood-brain barrier. What are the drugs? Antibiotics, they cannot cross this blood-brain barrier. Can I give azithromycin? Can I give any oral agents? You have to give parenteral. Can I give any oral agents, oral antibiotics to this patient? No. Can I give macrolides? Tetracyclines? Tetracyclines? What is ceftriaxone? Third generation cephalosporin. Okay. Can I give first and second generation cephalosporins? It is for gram positive. That's why you're not giving. But can you give if it was a gram positive organism? Resistant to what? What is resistant to first generation cephalosporin? Okay. You have to study which antibiotics you can give in the meningitis which can cross the blood-brain barrier. That's your homework. Okay? For prevention, chemoprophylaxis, you can choose rifampicin, ceftriaxone or ciprofloxacin. Vaccination is also available for meningococcal meningitis. That also you can do for prophylaxis. Okay, these are the minimum things that you have to write in the answer sheet. Okay, these are like the code words. If these are found, then you will get the marks. Okay. Next question. What is the case history given? Develops poor feeding, fever, lethargy and seizures. So with age, the symptoms have changed. Baby was born after prolonged labor to the mother who had vaginal colonization of group B streptococcus. What is this group B streptococcus? Okay, beta hemolymph. What is the name of the streptococcus? There is just one streptococcus in Agalacti. Okay. You understand the CSF examination by now? How do you do CSF examination? Based on the, how do you describe tubercular, viral and bacterial? Can anybody tell the differentials? Neutrophilic inclination किस में होता है? Lymphocytic, tubercular, and low glucose will be found in bacterial. One feature of viral. Why are you talking like this? Clear. What do you mean by clear? In transparent. Okay. In case of What is cobweb formation? Cobweb formation, where is it seen? Tubercular meningitis. And in case of pyogenic meningitis, CSF will be cloudy. Okay. Did you say cloudy? Turbid. Okay. Other common neonatal pathogens are E. coli, Klebsiella, Listeria, that we have already discussed. Transmitted from colonized maternal genital tract, this is given in the question. Why? Because neonates have very low, immature, mature immune system, right? Increased permeability of blood-brain barrier and exposure during passage through birth canal, and in this question it was given that it was a prolonged labor. Okay. Then bacteria, they enter the bloodstream and spread hematogenously to the meninges. How do they enter the bloodstream? Can it happen that they enter through the umbilical cord? It's during the delivery, right? Prolonged contact is there. It could be through mucosa, it could be through umbilicus, it could be due to unsterile interventions. It's because the organism was present and the baby's immune system could not fight it, right? What are the clinical features in this case? They have given that it had poor feeding, irritable, lethargy was there. What other features can you see? Bulging anterior fontanelles. This can happen because of difficult labor, right? Because this is all, at that time, it is all not fixed, you could say. It's not properly developed or attached. It happens later. Then, what is the laboratory diagnosis? It all remains the same. What will you see in Streptococcus agalacti? Short chains, gram-positive cocci in short chains. Blood agar will show beta hemolytic colonies, you told. CAM test is positive, Landsfeld group B antigen. This is based on carbohydrate C antigen. Then, PCR you can go for, you will go for blood culture. In culture, you will see this. What is the treatment you are giving here? You are giving combination therapy. Ampicillin with gentamicin. Okay. Tetanus. What's the causative organism? Okay. How did you say it's tetanus? So this person presented with lockjaw, painful muscle stiffness, difficulty in swallowing, repeated muscle spasms. This happens after Clostridium tetani is causing what kind of paralysis? Spastic paralysis. What is opisthotonus? Back pain. Opisthotonus क्या होता है? Abnormal extension of the body. What is that? What do you call that? Decerebrate condition. Arch-like formation of the body. What is rhizus sardonicus? That causes that a person is giving a grin, which is prolonged. Okay. Immunization history is important. Why? If this person has at least 35 years old, you have to repeat the tetanus boosters, tetanus toxoids. He has not taken there is no history of immunization. So, then if you have taken tetanus toxoid, you are protected from this thing. Everybody has taken TT here. How does it look? Clostridium tetani, what is the specific feature? Drumstick appearance. So it has terminal spore, which has a drumstick appearance. It is gram-positive. What do you call it? It is an anaerobic organism, right? So it is found in the soil in hospital environment, intestine of human and animals. So at the moist places, you can see it's anaerobe. What are the virulence factors? 2 virulence factors you have to say. Okay, what does titanospasmin do? It blocks the release of inhibitory neurotransmitters. What are these neurotransmitters? GABA and glycine. And what does titanolysin do? We don't know. Okay. Now in this case, just like gas gangrene, what are you taking here? And where are you putting it? Robertson cooked meat agar. Yeah, cooked meat broth. Okay, what does it have? What does RCM have? What does it do? All these meat particles and all this ascorbic acid is there. Or what does it do? It is a reducing agent. So it removes all the oxygen from the medium so that this organism can grow. Okay, then tell me one complication that is very lethal, which is why the person with tetanus can die. In this case, the person on examination, he already has this rhizus sardonicus, opisthotonus and exaggerated deep tendon reflexes, and he is having a difficulty swallowing. What will happen? This repeated muscle spasms will go to respiratory muscles also, and because of that, he will have a respiratory failure. Okay. 26-year-old woman presents with recurrent episodes of fever, headache, neck stiffness, photophobia, lasting 3 to 5 days, complete recovery between the episodes. Complete recovery between the episodes. Primary history of genital herpes infection. Lymphocytic pleocytosis, normal glucose, mildly raised protein, PCR positive for HSV2. What do you expect me to tell you? And who is saying it is rabies? This is the most simplest answer you can give. Everything is given in the question. Need to discuss this? Here comes your rabies. 30-year-old veterinarian bitten on the hand by stray dog while examining it. Wound is deep, bleeding, contaminated with saliva. Have never received rabies vaccine. Dog has escaped and cannot be observed. Why do you need this dog to observe? So for how many days are you going to observe this dog? 10 days. Okay. Okay. Can you give the WHO guidelines for PEP? Anybody knows? Achha, what is rabies? How does it look? Okay. The wound is deep, bleeding and contaminated with saliva. What are we supposed to do? You will wash the wound, you will do all the antiseptic application, everything what you do. You will even suture it, but how will you keep the sutures? You will not tie them, right? You will keep them very loose. Why? If you tie, it will rapidly multiply. Any better answer? How do you keep the rabies patient? Do you isolate this patient? Why? No, humans cannot spread this. Okay, why? Why are you isolating them? Very good. You are keeping them away from the trigger stimulus because they are photophobic, aerophobic, hydrophobic by that stage, right? So even if you bring the water near them, or even if the gush of air is going through and the light is there, all of this can cause triggers to them and they can become uncontrollable. So you are keeping this wound open because they are aerophobic, right? Okay. How can we diagnose the rabies in laboratory? See, in this case, what kind of questions will be answered to you? This is very typical thing. So, you're not expected to answer what you generally answer in all the viruses. What is given here? What kind of wounds? How do you categorize the wound based on WHO? So, It could be a scratch, it could be a wound leading to bleed, it could be a deep wound, right? What kind of wounds do you treat? Whenever there is visible tinge of blood, you have to give vaccine to this patient, right? He has to be given a post-exposure prophylaxis. Then, what kind of rabies vaccines are available? How do you give this vaccine? One of you was saying 0-3 days, somebody said? Right, okay. Then, what is immunoglobulin? How it is acquired? It can be acquired from humans or horses. Equine immunoglobulin is also available. And how do you give this immunoglobulin? You are supposed to inject this around the wound. That is for vaccine. You are giving immunoglobulin around the wound, right? And it does not matter how many wounds you have to give it equally around all the wounds. See, infiltrate as much as possible into around the wound. Okay? Once you get into practice and you start sitting in emergency, this is a very common case that you will come across. So you have to remember all the dosages and all the vaccination strategies you have to know for this person. So the first aid will be this and this, and you should know what to do in these cases. If you do not have the knowledge of how to do the suturing in such cases, here they have written avoid suturing, but sometimes it's not possible because if the skin is flapped, you have to put the suture. But make sure that the suture is loosely kept, not sewn tightly like you do suturing. Okay? What is this? Why cryptococcal? Because there is a HIV positive man. CD4 count is very less. Opportunistic infection. What has he presented with? Headache, low-grade fever, vomiting, memory loss, blurred vision, neck stiffness for the past 3 weeks. CSF examination on the India ink preparation. So somewhere you are doing the wet mounts, right? What do you see in this wet mount preparation? Are they budding yeast cells? Oh, they have given you round budding yeast cells. Okay. Then what is the answer? Just ignore this budding thing, okay? Don't round yeast cells they are going. What is this? If it's budding yeast cell they are showing you, then what is it? Not in the India ink, in gram positive. Candidiasis. So it could be candidal abscess, brain abscess, okay? And complication of brain abscess. ठीक है. In case of cryptococcal meningitis, cryptococcal meningitis can be acquired after inhalation of what? Where do you think this person got it? He is already immune compromised, HIV patient. So most of us, even being exposed to certain things, will not get the disease, but he is immunocompromised. So have you seen the pigeon bird droppings? That's a very good source for these fungus to survive. Okay. So wherever you see pigeon bird droppings, just see there is Cryptococcus in it. Okay, that's a very good source of Cryptococcus. Then infection begins in lungs after inhalation. So he is inhalating all these through the environment. Okay. Then it is developing pulmonary infection and then spreading to the blood and then to the brain. Okay. Can you name any culture medium for this other than SDA? Bird seed agar, Niger seed agar, right? It also has urease positive and inositol assimilation test is positive. If you have to diagnose these fungus, Cryptococcus, Candida auris and all, then Malditov is the very good identification method. Okay. For Malditov, you will still need the colonies will have to perform the culture anyway. Okay. In case of direct microscopy, always remember that you're performing the wet mount directly from the CSF sample. That will give you better picture of the capsule, right? If you are observing the capsule on the subcultured plate, subcultured colonies, the capsules will start losing its characteristics. So capsule will not be visible as much. What are the stains you're using? Gram stain, gram positive yeast cell, again budding, remove it. Musicarmine stain. It demonstrates the capsule. Mason Fontana stain demonstrates the melanin in this fungus, and Alchin blue stain. Just remember these stains. Very good latex agglutination test is performed for the identification, which is in practice today. So whenever clinicians are suspecting cryptococcal meningitis, you will get the CSF sample for latex agglutination for Cryptococcus. Okay, and it's very easy to perform and rapid results are given, which you can later confirm with the PCR also. That was about CSF. Do you want to discuss any